Hi, it's Mike with AskTractorMike.com. Every now and again I do a video and I just know when I do it I am going to get scalded by my viewers in the comments. And I'm a big boy, I've got thick skin, I've been around. You're not going to hurt my feelings any, I'll be okay. But I'm going to tell you a little bit today about maintenance, and I'm going to get yelled at, I know. But I had a question from a viewer, and it's a really good question, and a lot of you deal with this. And I want your comments below, I want your opinion. And I know I'm going to get a variety of opinions on this. So let's get started. This comes from Mark, and I actually got to meet Mark in person this past summer. I was visiting his area, and I just stopped by. He's a good guy, and a guy I like, and we got together, and he says, I have a question I think would make a great video. I struggle with this and wonder if others do too. The question is how to approach servicing tractors when you don't put enough hours on in a year to meet the maintenance guidelines. Should one change oil and filters once per year regardless of operating time? In other words, do the lubricants go bad just by sitting in the reservoirs? A full tilt change of all filters, engine oil and hydraulic fluid can get to be pretty expensive. If good practice calls for it, I'd sure do it, but I'd rather spend my time and money on something else if it isn't warranted. Mark, a great question. I'm glad you asked it, and I'm going to give you my opinion today. Now, before I tell you my opinion, I'm just going to tell you where I came from, because a lot of you watch my channel probably think I'm more of a maintenance guy than I really am. And it all goes back to my upbringing. My dad was a child of the Depression. They struggled to survive back in the years when the Great Depression hit this country. And he was tight with his money and conservative with his money. He didn't spend money he didn't have to. And that's the way I was brought up. He died in 2007. I went through his drawers. He had a few pairs of socks that looked new. I'm still wearing them and will continue to until I die, because that's how I was raised. So we don't spend money on things we don't need to spend money on. Now, he would maintain stuff if it needed to be maintained, but if it didn't, he didn't dink with it. This brings you to a call I got from my father when I was working in the dealership. We had an International tractor, a 595 International that he farmed with. We had an apple orchard, that was his primary tractor. And the 3-point wouldn't go up or down. And he called me and said, my 3-point won't go up or down, what do I do? And well, there's a little knob down below that controls whether it goes up or down. He checked that, it was open. I said, well, Dad, when's the last time you changed the hydraulic filter on that tractor? And his answer to me was, I don't think it's got a hydraulic filter. And I said, Dad, I'm pretty sure it does, and I think if you get a hydraulic filter and put on that tractor, that may cure the problem. And he went to the local IH dealer, got a hydraulic filter, put it on, and it cured the problem. So that's how we were with maintenance. We didn't do it if it wasn't broke, we didn't fix it. Now, he did change the oil, the engine oil, at normal intervals. He changed the fuel filter at normal intervals and all that. So get around to what do you do if you've got a tractor and you put, and a lot of us, and I include myself in this, maybe we'll have a 100-hour maintenance schedule where we have to change the oil, and we don't put 100 hours on a tractor a year. So what do you do if you're like a lot of us and you put 20 or 30 hours on a tractor every year and you have a 100-hour interval when service is recommended on changing oil and air filter and fuel filter, and hydraulic filters usually you change longer. They're like 300 hours. So what do you do? If you put 20 hours a year on it, do you change it every 5 years? If you put 5 years on it, do you change it or 5 hours a year on it, do you change it every 20 years? Well, I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a petroleum engineer, and there's probably some petroleum engineers that are watching this channel that can comment, and I urge you to do that. But that is a closed area, and so if you're in a high humidity area, will it secrete moisture in there? I don't think so. But now Mark lives in the Pacific Northwest, and they get a lot of rain up there in a normal year. And so, is that something he wants to watch out for? Well, maybe. I get a fair amount of humidity here in southwest Missouri where I live, so that's something to be a little bit concerned about. But I think if you go an extra period without changing the oil, I don't think you're going to get water in that system because it's a closed system. So I think you're okay on oil if you go an extra period till closer to the service interval without changing the oil and filter. Now, like I said, hydraulic filters are a little more forgiving. I'm way past changing my hydraulic filter and oil, and I've got a hydrostat tractor, and that's bad. I'm going to change it this spring, and I really need to. Should have changed it long ago. Got the stuff to do it, just haven't done it. So I'm notoriously bad for putting it off. Now, what I would not put off, always check your air filter when you're running it, especially in dusty conditions. You need good air in that engine, and if you don't get it, you can have a major failure with your engine. So make sure you don't have that packed air filter, and if that thing is filthy and you can't get out the dust, replace it. Now, the one I'd be really careful with is the fuel filter. Especially if you're not using the tractor much, you may want to change that fuel filter even more than the manufacturer recommends, at least once a year. And I'd check that fuel bowl, if you've got one of those clear fuel bowls, every time I walk by the tractor to make sure there's not any water in there. These new injection systems are so sensitive to moisture and debris that if they get anything in there, you're looking at an injection pump job, and you don't want that. That's expensive. And it won't be covered under warranty if there's bad fuel going into the tractor. So, Mark, to answer you, my own personal opinion, I'm cheap enough that I'll go a little past the due date to change my oil and filter. Not much past in terms of time, but I generally change the oil right at the hours. Now, I'm going to show you a picture right here. This is a Massey Ferguson tractor that my dad had. It was his number 2 tractor on the farm. And the oil hasn't been changed in this tractor in a long time, and I'm getting ready to change it this spring. Now, I put maybe 5 or 6 hours on this tractor a year, so it's still not up to the interval in terms of the hours, but it's time to change the oil. So you see how I am with my tractors, but I would always change that fuel filter and check that air filter often, because air and fuel are critical. And Mark, to be honest with you, if you go a little past on changing the oils and everything, tractors are tough. They'll probably take it. It probably won't matter when we're dead and gone. They'll still sell pretty well at our estate sales, even if you didn't change the oil right at the interval. Now, put your comments down below. A lot of you are meticulous about hitting either 1 year changing the oil or 100 hours, whatever the owner's manual recommends. I'm not one of you. We'll agree to disagree. Appreciate you watching my videos. I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can do that by clicking the mic face icon and checking the bell so you're notified when I post future videos. Here's a link to my website and the Tractor Fun Store with unique items for sale for the tractor owner that helps support my channel. And here's another video you might want to watch. Thanks for watching.